Okay, so hello everyone. Today let me show you how you can recharge with refrigerant the AC system of your vehicle. This is applicable more or less with all types of vehicle. Okay, so you're going to need an AC gauge, a tank for the refrigerant, the correct type of oil, a thermometer, something like this, and a digital weighing scale. Now, as for the correct type of oil and refrigerant, in most cases you will find that information somewhere in the engine bay, like so, or in this case on top of the hood. As you can see, 134A, R134A, oil SP10. It does not say, however, how much oil or how much refrigerant. But generally speaking, if it's a single AC system, meaning you only have an AC at the front, the evaporator is located somewhere behind here, you're going to need at least 1 kilo of refrigerant. And if it's a dual system, meaning there is an evaporator at the back, you see you have an AC system at the back, so the evaporator is located somewhere here, so you're going to need at least 1.5 kilo of refrigerant, generally speaking. Now when it comes to compressor oil, okay, this is the compressor. A rule of thumb, 2 ounces for the compressor, 1 ounce for the condenser, 1 ounce for the filter dryer, and 2 ounces for each evaporator, 1 at the front and 1 at the back. So all in all, that's at least about 8. However, in this case, there's absolutely zero refrigerant in this system because the condenser has been replaced. So I'm only going to add at least about 1 ounce of lubricating oil. That's equivalent to at least about 30 milliliters of lubricating oil, more or less. Okay, so now before we're going to introduce refrigerant into our AC system, it is imperative that we need to apply a negative vacuum on our AC system. 1, because we need to take it out of air, and 2, we need to take it out of moisture as well, should there be any. We need to take the air out inside our AC system, because if we're not going to do that, it is going to limit the capacity of our refrigerant to expand inside our AC system. I will give you a demonstration of that in a while. And also we need to take the moisture out of the system, because if there's any, it's going to cause clogs inside our system. It's going to cause our AC system not to work. Basically, an air conditioning system is just similar to this thing, an electric fan. It's just a glorified electric fan. But the difference is, instead of just circulating air, in an AC system we're going to blow cold air. That is where the refrigerant comes in this case R134A. In order for us to understand that, I will demonstrate to you with this canister of lighter fluid. Okay, so basically the refrigerant, if it's pressurized and trapped in a container, something like this, it is in a liquid state. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is in a liquid state, similar to a lighter fluid. Now, should we release pressure, the rapid release of pressure from this pressurized canister is going to turn the liquid inside here into gas, and that rapid expansion is what is going to make the refrigerant cool down. Okay, I'll demonstrate. I have here an infrared thermometer, so we're going to take a base temperature of this tip right here. Okay, so right now it's giving us a reading of 32 degrees Celsius. Should we release pressure inside here? Okay, as you can see, it went down to 26. We'll do that again. So 23 degrees Celsius, 25 is going back up. Okay, so basically that's why in our AC system we have the high side, meaning the contained side, the pressurized side, and the low side, meaning wherein the gas has already expanded. That is why on our gauge right here we have the low side, air, and the high side. Okay, now of course in our AC system we do not just release the refrigerant. In this case, illustrated by this lighter fluid, we do not just release the refrigerant into the atmosphere. We need to trap it. That's why we have the AC system. Okay, so in this vehicle, the pressurized refrigerant here is going to be released inside our evaporator via an expansion valve. Air is going to be circulated through the fins of the evaporator. That's why we have cold air. After that refrigerant has expanded, it's going to be coursed through this line right here. It's going to get inside or be sucked into our AC compressor. The refrigerant is going to be compressed and pressurized. It's going to go out of that line right there. It's going to get inside our condenser. Now from our AC compressor, it still is in its gas form, although it has already been pressurized. That is why we need this condenser right here in order to cool the refrigerant down. And right here we have a filter dryer in order to filter it with impurities as well as moisture. And once the refrigerant has been cooled down, it will revert back to its liquid state. Okay, we'll pass through that. I don't know if you can see that line. See that line through here. Here we have a PEEP glass. Okay, you see that line, and then it's going to go back again into our evaporator, repeating the process. Now when it comes to our AC manifold, it's very easy. Make sure these are closed shut. Okay, clockwise, remove this cover. Okay, and then we are going to connect our hose lines. Red is to red. Okay, just untighten like so. Blue is to blue. Okay, and yellow in the middle. Okay, you don't need to use any tools for this, just untighten. And now we're going to connect these quick connect couplings. Again, blue is to blue and red is to red. Okay, very easy. You can never go wrong with this because these have different sizes. The high side, the red is slightly larger than the blue side, the low side. Okay, now as for connecting these quick connect couplings into our ports, I have this in order to demonstrate. As you can see there is a Schrader valve. Now make sure that this is all the way up. Okay, as you can see, there's that pin right there. You need to turn this all the way up. Okay, now just pull this knob right so, push it down, it's going to lock into place. Now that you can no longer remove that. However, the line between this and this is still not open because we need to turn this all the way down slowly. This is going to push down on the, okay, you don't do this when it's pressurized, okay, on that Schrader valve, like so. That is what this knob is for. Okay, so now like I've said, before we introduce refrigerant, we need to perform a vacuum on our AC system. So I'm going to hang my AC manifold on the hood now, and then we're going to do the low side. Okay, so as for the vacuum pump, I'm going to use my air compressor. It can pump air, it can also suck in air. Okay, so I just made this hose. Okay, and on this end I'm going to use this. On this end I'm going to connect the yellow line. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the air compressor now, and there's my dog. I'm going to open this valve. Okay, then we're going to open our high and low side. We're going to see this move downwards. Hope you can see that. If they call that mercury, negative mercury. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to let this pump for 15-20 minutes. Okay, so this pump has been running for at least 20 minutes now. What we're going to do now is we're going to close this shut as well as the high side. We'll make sure that it's close, really close here as well, and now we can turn off our air compressor. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this for at least overnight. Okay, so it's the following day, and as you can see, the arrow did not move one bit, so there's no leak. So now we're ready to put refrigerant in. For putting in the refrigerant, we need to add lubricating oil. So I'm just going to inject our lubricating oil. I'm gonna connect this tip on our R134 tank. This is a 5 kilo tank. Okay, like that. Okay, so and this is where the weighing scale comes in, so that we can see how much refrigerant we have put inside. Okay, we are now ready. So the next thing that we'll do is we're going to start our engine and turn on our AC. This is a pressure switch. This is going to disengage the magnetic clutch should your system run out of refrigerant, so that you won't destroy your AC compressor, because I'm going to turn the engine on. Neutral. I'm going to turn on the AC. Okay, going to turn this on. Also going to turn on the AC at the back, like so. Okay, put this down on the coldest. Okay, close the vent. Okay, even though I've already got the AC on, the magnetic clutch is not spinning, so meaning the AC air compressor is not spinning along with the engine. Like I've said, it's a safety feature. And now this is where a thermometer comes in handy. So we're going to take the temperature, ambient temperature. Right now it's 29 degrees Celsius, so we have a AC chart here for R134. So 29 degrees Celsius, we're aiming for. The low side is at least 45 to 55, and the high side is at least 25 to 250. But basically this is just a rough estimate, sort of a guide. Doesn't necessarily mean that you really have to hit these numbers. Okay, and also we have this diagram here, or a chart, wherein you are able to interpret the readings. We're going to stick this temperature probe inside of the vent. Okay, we'll stick it as far as we can get it inside. As you can see, it's hotter inside this cabin. It's only giving us 31. Okay, now before I will turn on the canister for the refrigerant, I'm going to turn on the low side, only on the low side. Okay, never on the high side, only on the low side. So I'm going to turn this on. Lubricating oil is already in here. Okay, so all the way in the refrigerant. The refrigerant is going to push the oil inside towards our low side, and we will see this magnetic clutch engage once there's already pressure switch senses pressure. Okay, so 7.9 kilograms. So it's starting to bubble. We've already introduced, and then the compressor clutch just engaged. Okay, sorry about the bad camera angle. You can see it's already started to turn. Now we'll let it run like so until we reach our desired number. So on our low side we have at least 50 psi, 45 psi. On our high side it's already starting to rise. 140, 135 psi, 140, and it's rising. As you can see, the temperature already went down, 24 degrees Celsius. 7.5, we've introduced at least 0.4 kilos inside, 7.3 kilos. It's starting to stabilize now, 200 on the high side, about 55 on the low side. We're almost there. 220 on the high side, 50 on the low side, and we want to rev up the engine to 2000 RPM. Okay, and you will see the 19, 18, and I'll show you on the AC gauge as well. Okay, so when I rev up the engine, the low side should go down and the high side should go up. Okay. So we're almost done. 250 on the high side, 40 on the low side, 6.7. Need to close this for a while. 12 degrees Celsius. We should begin to see our AC system begin to stabilize. The temperature inside the cabin going to be reached. This will disengage. Okay. Okay, so 35 psi, 260 psi. Okay, so our compressor just disengaged and it's going down, and it's engaged again, it's going up. You can see 6.7, it was 7.9, so we've introduced at least 1.2 kilos of refrigerant. So I think I'm going to keep it there. So like I said, 270, 235. If we're going to follow this chart literally, we're not going to get the proper results. But like I've said, this is only a reference guide. You're going to need at least experience when it comes to doing this. So start slow, introduce little by little refrigerant, okay, until you get the desired result. Okay, so now that we're done, we need to take this out. I'll show you how. Let's take out the high side first. Okay, slowly. Pull this up. Turn this counterclockwise. Okay. All the way up. This is close. Okay, you're going to hear a pop. Where eye protection. See? Now, you can see there's still pressure on the high side. If we're going to release this pressure, that's still refrigerant inside here, so that's wasteful and that's not good for the environment. So what we're going to do now, the pressure on the high side, we're going to transfer it towards the low side. Okay, so it's open. Okay, so you see it dropping. Open some more, you see? It transfer on the other side. Okay. So now they are on the same PSI. Okay? Okay, so what we will do now is close the high side as well as the low side. And now we can pull this out counterclockwise like so. Okay, so we're done. Now as for the rest of the refrigerant, there's really nothing much we can do. We just have to release it. Okay, so we open this up. We're going to release the pressure. It's going down. Well, at least that's very little refrigerant that is wasted and that goes into the environment. Okay, so we've done a great job, as you can see. Moist. Okay, so now we're going to put the cover back in, but before we do that, we're going to check for leaks. It's just soapy water on the other side. Okay, so you see no bubbles. There's none here as well. Now before we put the cover back on, we will spray that off. avoid corrosion. Okay. Now we can put the cover back on. Now, should there be any leak in this Schrader valve, I'll show you also how you can remove the Schrader valve without actually having to evacuate the system. That is what this thing is for. One for the high side, one for the low side. So maybe I'll make a video out of that too next time. So anyway, you can see, I do believe that's it. I think it's time to wrap this video up.